Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are around the world, and welcome to our Power Platform webinar today on Power Apps. I hope everybody's staying safe and healthy in whatever is going on. And today we will be discussing, like we've discussed already previously, around Power BI and Power Automate. Now, the final component of Power Platform being Power Apps. So today's agenda entails basically we're going to be able to go through a few slides here to set a little bit of expectation around what Power Apps can do for you, and then dive into a demo real quick and see if we can actually create, or at least create start creating a Power App. Okay, so to begin, 70% of organizations believe that their data is not used to their fullest extent. What that means is that people have data, companies and organizations have collected data over time, and now the question is, well, that's great, we've got all this information, all this data that's lying around, what do we do with this? And how can we make it meaningful? How can we make it drive some strategic values or growth or other initiatives that we want to kind of have, so we're not focused on now mining that data, but rather analyzing it and getting useful content out of that. Whereas a couple of years ago, the struggle was really that we don't really have a lot of data. We can't say for certain any of these changes, whereas now it's quite the opposite. So it's progressed forward. And organizations find it fairly hard to do that because the culture isn't developed yet. And so, as well as within those cultures, the tools and applications are provided for employees or members in the organization to be able to do that. So the idea here is culture obviously matters, right? So 70% of transformations are actually failing because of cultural related issues. We realize that knowledge workers and people who have had historic experience find it fairly difficult to measure how that culture has been transformed and or what kind of behavioral changes need to be put in place, right? And so you've got skilled workers, you've got people that have the knowledge, you've got the mindset for it, and now you need some tools that can help you do some can help you grow in the economy that we're living in, as well as in many of the other categories, even when economy is fairly stagnant, right? And of course, we recognize that there are companies out there that are taking that data. 86% challenge analyze unstructured data, and how do we use tools to be able to take that and make it meaningful? So the missing link isn't data; it's how do we use tools to act as a catalyst to drive successful transformation and a culture towards innovation. That's the long story short, I guess. So Power Platform, like I mentioned, has three specific categories. We've done webinars and events around Power BI and Power Automate already. And so, feel free to take a look at those on our website as well. And today, Power Apps and how we can connect data sources and things like that. So within the Microsoft family, though there's a lot of changes that keep happening, the change is always towards a positive direction, meaning all the data sources, everything is acting seamlessly with one another. There's connections between all the different applications. We've got a common data server and so on and so forth. You can extract data from multiple sources to be able to make it work for you, right? And so what's the benefit of having then Power Apps, which is a low code app development product, to help you gain that? Well, number one is efficiency, right? So the ability for you to utilize the multiple systems that you have and translate that into a system that can then be interactive with you to be able to give you the data, whether it be through AI or other technologies that are embedded, is fantastic, right? The ability for you to save time, money, resources, and all the effort that used to take place in developing those applications, which can now literally be done in minutes if set up correctly, right? Um, it's estimated that 65% of app development will actually be low code by 2024, and that's not too far away from now. And if you think about that stat, it's actually pretty phenomenal. Whereas right now we're not there yet, but Microsoft and Encore as a gold partner are definitely heading towards that innovative direction. So traditionally, this is what's happened. We've got the IT department who's very, very expert in, let's security, governance, let's say compliance, all of those different resources, and from a technology standpoint, are fairly integrated, and products can become scalable. Then you've got the business, which has got a wealth of expert knowledge and the ability to solve problems that really have a critical strategy behind it, and so on and so forth. Power Apps and Power Platform kind of combines the two together to take those ideas and put it into something that we can apply, right? And the ability to and if you think about you don't really need any experience in terms of coding. You don't need to learn a new language. You don't need to know any, you may not even need to know any IT background whatsoever to be able to develop that. That idea is phenomenal. So how do we take the advantage of this, right? So, 37% of the organizations are still using paper to manage their business processes, very, very manual processes, right? Whereas, a good, 60%, 63% are becoming paperless and going online, going to the cloud and using those resources, right? So if you fall into one of those categories, there is a better way to do things. 65% of the organizations report that there is app development backlogs. So there needs to be something more efficient, right? Where you can have professional developers already embrace let's say a low code application development and automate some of those repetitive aspects of DevOps, and within that life cycle, right? And so uh, it's estimated that 500 million applications will be developed in the next 5 years. So the potential here is significant. It's growth, but as well, the return on investment is fairly large as well. So on a 3-year term, a 362% return on investment based on less application development cost and effort that's put in. That's pretty great. Okay, so how does this low code stuff work? Well, a lot of the products that are out there are off the shelf. So you might have heard the term, there's an app for that. And if there isn't, if you don't think there is, there probably is or can be. As well as some of those processes can be solved, if not by off the shelf products of applications that are out there, by specific custom based apps that are dependent on the data that you've inputted, or applications that are specific to your organization and process and business. So the ability to do both of those off-the-shelf type products, custom applications, is great. And within Power Apps, there is this idea of having canvas apps as well as apps that are model-oriented or driven through other pre-built applications that you can also utilize here. Okay. Within the industry knowledge, a lot of people will say, well, it's great for this industry, but it doesn't work for this industry or this business. These are all the industries that have clients currently within Encore and Microsoft who are using technology like Power Apps to be able to disrupt their business, right? And to be able to transform their business. And with everything that's going on right now, it's almost crucial to be able to spend time proactively either investing or being educated across these products. Organizations are using these Power Apps to optimize their processes, drive efficiencies within their organizations, as well as from a perspective of all the different types of use of Power Apps can be specific for whether it's nonprofit or education or finance businesses, healthcare, so on and so forth. So really, I don't like to say this a lot, but the sky is really the limit, right? So it's great for organizations, great for all sorts of makers, whether you're in IT or you have absolutely no idea what IT or app development is, as well as for innovation, all right, in general, to be able to leverage, common data servers, to be able to build, using AI technologies, and so on and so forth. So a recap, Power BI, Power Apps, Power Automate. Use data between all sorts of connectors through common data server or other data that you may have, whether it be just Excel spreadsheets that you can use as well. It's basically utilized throughout all sorts of applications such as Dynamics, and whether it's sales, marketing, Business Central or ERP systems, Office 365. It's really built in and fully managed through the common data servers, right? So your applications can be generated, and and you don't need legacy systems or things like that to be able to do that. You can also build Power BI or Power Automate, formerly known as Flow, and all of this kind of works seamlessly together, right? So that's the idea around this. I've got a short video. I'm not sure if the audio will show, but the captions should be enough based on an organization that has incorporated Power Apps and the entire Power Platform into their business. So I'm going to attempt this right now, and then we'll go right into the demo in about 2 minutes. So take a look at this.
Traditionally, mobile software development is pricey and lengthy and requires a very specific set of skills. It's just never been this easy and this quick to create applications.
Perfect. So let's dive now into our demo for today. We are. So if you log into your Office account, I'm just going to do this online. So portal.office.com or office.com should be able to access all the applications that you have within that license. And of them, if you've got the proper license, you should have the ability to build Power Apps. So I'm just going to click that. I've already opened some of them here. And within this particular application, you could see a whole bunch of different tabs here. So within the Home tab, you've got, how can you connect data? You've got SharePoint. You can, have Excel data. You can have SQL Server, Common Data Service, so on and so forth, as well as other data that you can actually use to build Power Apps, right? And build applications that can help you get some of the work done. Now, I don't have any connections to any of those data right now, but if you did or could, it would show up here. So, you could use Excel files, so on and so forth. Then within this tab, it actually gives you quick clicks to be able to create applications or right away, right through here. So you can create a app from a blank canvas, basically, or a canvas app from a blank sheet, as well as model-driven apps as well, or other apps as well that come from portals or pre-built apps. You can see some other apps that you've already created, and use some of that learning as well. Now that's just within your home, let's say your main page. Of course, if you dive deep into some of these areas, for example, you can learn some quick guides and stuff that Microsoft has shared to how you can kind of create applications. You can take a look at all the apps that you have, create new apps from here, as well as import other apps that you've created. You can see a Microsoft Dynamics 365 icon that's here as well. You can capture data and build applications that have been custom to your environment within Dynamics, as well as the ability for you to create apps in the next app, same way as I showed you in the first Home tab, as well as if there were any other templates. So you've got other templated apps per se within here as well. They'll help you do some quick tasks as well. So whether it be Power Apps training for Office, you've got some of that stuff here, a service desk, a leave request. These are some really easy, quick button applications that you can, you know, create to be able to run apps with basically no code involved, just being able to connect data. So for example, if I wanted to open, you know, this particular application or this app that will actually help me do estimations and things like that, I can create that app, and it would basically run all the integrations before that, speak that language, and now that app would be basically ready and created for me to connect data to, right? For that particular reason, I don't have that data at this time, so I probably wouldn't be able to create that entirely. But we could get down to connecting other data and having entities within that data. If we've got solutions that are pre-built that we can put into here, they're called multiple different solutions, you know, export from data lakes and things like that, have custom connectors and so on and so forth. You can also link your Power applications through any flows that you may have created or can create, so that there's an automatic kind of application that takes place once, let's say, someone clicks a particular product, maybe they get, you know, some information from it, or so on and so forth. I've created a couple flows here, but you can link these flows again to your applications. And then of course, using the AI builder, if you connect databases and give permissions to be able to do those, you can actually create that. And this is where all your solutions, once they're created and managed and connected, this is where your solution environment would be, and you can actually create different solutions within here and manage them. So let's dive into creating an app, and let's create an app from basically from scratch. So let's do a Canvas app. Now, in this case, you can call, you know, this app anything you'd like. So, you know, in this case, I'm going to create an app that where if you were to go onto this application, you can create, you can basically order devices or manage your products. Let's say we wanted to get hardware or computers or things like that. So let's call it Encore's device management app. Okay, you could have it so it's formatted whether it be on a tablet or a laptop or a phone. And by the way, these are cross platform experiences, so you can have it on multiple things. In this particular case, I want to stick to keeping the formatting so that it could fit a tablet. Okay, and we go create, and that basically launches a main screen where you can actually create now and add on to the application as well. This is the other one, just loading. And this is basically setting up all of the backend stuff that you would need for that app. It gives you a clear canvas, and now you can interact with this application, change, you know, it's rename the entire app and so on and so forth. As you will notice, I'm going to skip this for now, but basically we could, you know, grab stuff from, you know, galleries or forms and other interactive things that I've already built for, but let's skip this for now. And now you're in your, basically your Power Apps, you know, area. So a couple things to kind of go through here. Right here is where you can fill what kind of query you'd like. So if I want, for example, a fill or something like that, this is where you can add functions. This is very similar to how Excel functions work, so you don't need to know anything more than Excel to be able to do that, and I'm going to show you a couple of those here as well. This gives you a tree view, so like you can see here, this gives you all the tree view for your different screens. I could duplicate a screen once I've developed it. You know, I can, you know, add more screens to it so they can go to, let's say, your home tab, then they can go and, you know, order computers and laptops or cell phones, so on and so forth. And of course, if I wanted to connect other data sources, that's where I would do it from as well. I can also insert certain things on my canvas, which we will get to as well. But let's start by, you know, renaming this screen, and let's call this screen, you know, let's just call this device management, right? And so we've renamed the screen, or we can call it, you know, our main screen, so on and so forth. You could call it whichever way you'd like. If this is perhaps your home, right? So we can call this the home screen. Now from here, you can actually insert certain things on it. For example, like I mentioned, if you click this plus sign, I can insert a text label, and this will give me, and I can either drag it on or just click it similar to what I did. And you'll see a text box kind of open up, as well as things that you can change within that, whether it be the text, the font, style, right, position on thing, color, so on and so forth. And you could change that text from within the function here, or if you double click the text box, it will actually change that here as well. And of course, you can zoom in or out to be able to see the content as well. But let's change this text box, and we can call it our app. So this was our device ordering app, I think. Application, right? So we'll just call it that, and put that on there, and that's it. So now you've got the text here, right? Within this, now for this text, we want to perhaps customize it or change the position of it. Maybe we want this to kind of go all throughout the top banner here, so we can actually, using these features, do that, as well as if you go in down here to position, you can change the position so that it's flat against the top here, and then just drag that across. Okay. Of course, there's other things that you can do to this as well. For example, add some color, let's say, right? Or change the font, etc., etc. You can have a fill added behind it, right? So I don't know what I want here. Probably not a good color. That's horrible. Let's just stick to white, right? Other background images that you may want to have, so on and so forth within that screen, right? So let's go back into this text here. And now I want to perhaps, and you can do all sorts of different things here, center it, right? It all belongs similar to how you would do with any Microsoft product, really. And you've got, just a heading within that title. Now this can also be, for example, a button or things like that you can create, where if they were to click this, it would actually link them to another kind of page as well. Okay. So I wanted to change the fill to something else. You could kind of do that here. I really don't want to, but there we go, right? So there we go. We've got a nice banner that's up there as well now. Additionally, you can add, let's say, another text just by dragging it on, like I mentioned, right? So you can add that, and let's say we want them to maybe you want this particular thing to greet me every time I come online. So you can give it a function. So let's say we go to text, and the text that I want here that I wanted to do is maybe say whoever logs in, let's say they've got access to log into this application. I want it to say I want it to greet him or her, and so on and so forth. So in this case, I'm just the administrator, so it's just going to greet me. And this function here, hello, and then so on, so user will basically, depending on which user logs in, their name will be populated here, right? So it'll say like hello Ziad or hello so on and so forth, depending on how you'd like to do that. So let's bold that, change maybe some of the font. Let's stick to keeping it purple. And again, you can move this so on and so forth like that with all the formatting that's there. So now you're in the right place. You can change the alignment and things like that. Now, of course, as this application gets developed, you don't want to lose any of the data. You want to make sure that all the things that you've created actually work. And so you can go into this app checker, and if I click on that and I say, okay, recheck all my formulas that I've put in. Again, I haven't put many formulas, but any formulas that I've put in or things like that, you can actually get those checked up, and it'll tell you if there's any mistakes or things like that you should look out for. Additionally, within the application, you can go into the file settings here. And if you go into settings, you can change the logo of your application, to whatever you'd like. And you can, of course, browse and upload your own logos as well, on top of that. And of course, change any of the colors or things of these icons that you'd like to kind of utilize to help. Add a description, change your names again. If you want to change orientation of this, so right now it's a landscape app. If you want a portrait app, maybe it's good for better settings this way. I like to keep a landscape. Again, you can have different widescreen and custom size orientations and things like that as well. And of course, we go into advanced settings, similar to how you would have. You can turn on and off multiple different functions within the application as well, to be able to support you as well. Within here, like I mentioned, Go connectors, you can save it or save as well as share this particular application with other users so that you can collaboratively work within the application. Then, of course, you may want to restrict some of that as well, and that can also be done on the back end. right? So we'll leave the size and orientation like I mentioned. We'll leave, if we wanted to save the application, let's say so it's not lost, we can go File, Save, and then it'll ask you, well, where do you want to save it? Okay, I want to save it to this computer or the cloud. Let's just save it to the cloud and save, and it takes a couple, seconds here to be able to save that. Now, after that happens, we can go back and add a gallery, let's say. Well, great, it's share, we can see versions, that's great. Again, to this insert tab here, and we can add specific galleries, as well as you can go to the gallery icon up here. Oh, sorry. Gallery icon up here, if you go into insert, gallery, and you can have different ways that you can showcase your data. So in this case, let's choose horizontal right now. I want to be able to see the gallery, and you'll see a template basically come up. Now within this, you don't really have to do too much to be able to add more data into it. All of this is pretty customized, right? I mean, the more kind of images that you want to see, you can actually change that, as well as if you want to add sources of data. Let's see if we can connect some data, maybe just through Excel. And I should be able to just connect my data, let's say to Office users, right? And if I do that, it would actually take that data, and now I can connect via Excel. Okay, and then of course you've got your data that's populated here, right? That you can go down and select specific types of data that you want to import. In this case, I'm going to import the device ordering data, and that will auto-populate the data so long as my data is clean on Excel. Pictures with other things like that. I want both devices and manufacturing. So these are different sheets that I've got there, and I want to connect that data, and you'll see it populate based on the data that I've allowed it to access, right? So it's that easy to be able to do that. You can also edit this gallery now, right? So if I wanted to go, there's a little pencil mark here. I can edit each gallery. Now, whatever I make changes to this specific one, all of these ones will change automatically. So for example, I can reduce the size on this, and so you can see that all the applications are being changed. I can have different name changes on here. I can change just the image of this, right? And so all of the images will just get smaller or larger, so on and so forth. And then if you notice the scroll bar down here, once this application is active, and I can make it so that I can see, preview that application as well, you can see that there's a scroll bar, right, in preview, and I can see all of the applications or all of the products that I've got in my inventory viewer there. Okay, so I'm going to leave that for now, and of course change the settings the way you'd like to, or how many you'd like to see in a particular screen, and so on and so forth. You can also add, for example, other types of galleries like vertical galleries where you can have different icons, and I can change it by brand, let's say. So I can filter those galleries to say I only want to see tablets with specific buttons here. Okay, I want to see maybe the Asus ones. I want to see all of the Dell laptops. I want to see all of the products that I have or accessories that I have, so on and so forth, as a vertical gallery as well, right? You can also you can also insert dollar amounts by inserting another text and having prices on here. You can code them, color the prices, and of course the first application takes a little while, and plus I'm kind of going through it fairly quick here to kind of show you. But if you've got this set up once, you just duplicate and replicate the same screen, for example, here, right? And you can see all the stuff that I've added onto this gallery. And if I duplicate a screen, well, everything in that screen gets duplicated. So my next screen, or my next, and then of course rename it. Maybe it's my page 2, or maybe it's you're ordering. When you're ordering, this is where you want them to kind of go, or where they can see their their cart, for example. This is just one type of application or one type of Power App that you can create. And of course, you can maybe build a form here that they have to fill out and complete, and you get information on it. And all of that stuff really happens from insert. So whether you want to edit a form or put a form in, add galleries, add icons, right? and then there's different inputs as well. So the reason why it's no code is all of the coding really gets done back here, right? All of the applications and the data that you need, all the pictures, shapes, so on and so forth that you need is down here. And then you basically add, the actions to it or functions to it through here. So if you want it to, maybe I want to change the height, I want to change the position, and so on. And the functions are here, right? The key is the ability for you to do that is down here. So that's the limited time that we have today for our webinar today. However, if there are any questions or things like that that you may have post this and what you can and can't do and how you can have this set up for your organization, feel free to reach out to me directly, and I've shared my information here as well for you to be able to reach out directly, and or if there are some questions, just kind of email me, and we will be able to answer those. So thank you for joining our webinar today for Power Apps, and I will look forward to having your emails for more information.